Welcome to Looking Within, a podcast for the spiritual explorer in each of us. I'm Julie. I love to explore the inner life using contemplative practices, and I love to help others to do the same. In our time together, I hope you gain a sense of hope, meaning, joy, and love. As a Christian spiritual explorer, I hope to offer some thoughts to help you see God's presence in activity in ever-expanding ways. As you listen, ponder, and experience the divine, feel free to use the spiritual perspective you are most comfortable with in our practice today. Now, let's begin. This week marks the beginning of the season of Advent. Advent meaning coming in Latin. Advent is observed in many Christian churches as a time of expectant waiting and preparation for the coming of Jesus into the world, which we celebrate at Christmas. Both churches and families in their home may use an Advent wreath to mark the 4 weeks of Advent, lighting a new candle each Sunday until all 4 candles are lit, in addition to one final candle on Christmas Eve. As we visit together today, I'm aware of the realities of this season, which create very busy days and evenings for everyone as we take part in the various aspects of celebrating Christmas with family, friends, co-workers, and organizations we're a part of. This season can be very joyful, fun, filled with wonderful chances to enjoy the company of others, and provide meaningful opportunities to volunteer and serve others during these weeks as well. But in the midst of all that I've named, perhaps because of all that I've named, our spirits and bodies may experience some depletion due to the many tasks and responsibilities that we take on this time of year. Here's where the candles on the Advent wreath can come to our aid. They've been assigned wonderful words to ponder and to hold close to our hearts as we journey through this season, with each word coming out of our relationship with the ground of being and the source of all, from God. Today we'll consider the first Advent wreath candle, the candle of hope. When I hear the word hope, or speak it in relation to something in my life or the life of someone else, I immediately know that something is perhaps not exactly working to plan. Something is a bit or a lot out of my or someone else's control, and the need to live without immediate closure or resolution may also come into play. Therefore, there is the hope for something to change or to work out favorably. The late Catholic priest, writer, professor, and theologian Henry Nouwen offered a helpful thought about hope, in addition to contrasting it with optimism. He said that the attitude of optimism is the expectation that things like the weather, relationships, the economy, or the political situation will get better. In contrast, Nouwen describes hope as the trust that God will fulfill God's promises to us in a way that leads us to true freedom. Freedom perhaps to live as our true and larger selves, freedom from worry, or freedom from the spiritually damaging effects of bitterness, entitlement, and victimhood. Nouwen says that the person of hope lives in the moment with the general knowledge and trust that all of life is in good hands. With hope, Nouwen says, we live with a promise in our hearts that guides us toward the future without the need to know exactly what it will look like. That's living with hope. During these weeks of December, my aim in each episode is to talk a little less and to give you a few extra minutes of quiet. I think a few bonus moments of stillness might be a good thing this month. Let's enjoy that now as we ponder hope. In this quiet space and time, I'd invite you to gently close your eyes. I'll sound the Tibetan singing bowl, which will call you to look within. As you're listening to the bowl's reverberations, take 3 deep breaths. Then let your breathing return to normal whenever you'd like. Hear the sound of the bowl now. Let it center you. Let it remind you that God is here with you. Think of something in your life for which you have hope. Perhaps a situation in your own life, in the life of someone else, or in the world. Imagine the feeling of patiently, trustingly, willingly living without closure or resolution to the current situation. Picture yourself laying the situation at the feet of Jesus, or handing it off to Him to carry instead of you. Perhaps you feel a life force or a bright, warm light surrounding you and absorbing your worries. Feel the freedom of resting in and relying on a source that is beyond you. Experience the contentment and even a quiet joy in this type of hope. A hope that knows that all of life is in good hands, without needing to know how it will all turn out. I'll be back with you in about 5 minutes. I'd invite you now to take a few deep breaths, in and out, in and out. Let these breaths fill you with strength and energy. Hear me sound the Tibetan singing bowl, and as the sound of the bowl reverberates and slowly dies away, you can gently open your eyes, remaining still for a moment longer. Hope, the patient and trusting willingness to live without closure, without resolution, and yet with contentment and even joy. This definition likely goes against every fiber in our being. It is part of our deepest nature to seek closure and resolution, to solve problems, or at least to worry about them. But we are reminded that all of life is in good hands, and that our source, our ground of being, lovingly and competently holds our problems within a larger presence than our own. Trust that your life, in whatever way it might currently feel out of your control, is in good hands. Live with the promise and the presence of God that guides us to any next steps that we need to take. And live with the promise and presence of God that guides us towards the future without the need to know exactly what it will look like. For that's living beyond optimism and living with hope. Thank you for making time for your inner self today. Whatever you've discovered and experienced, carry that with you in the coming days. You can find more episodes at our website, gloria-day, that's DEI.com/lookingwithinpodcast, or subscribe through your favorite podcast app. We'll see you next time.